2, 1, you're live.
Okay. Gotta finish the water. Hey, Susan.
Hi. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks
Good.
for being here.
Oh, I'm excited. This is fun.
I know. I love talking to you. It's so much fun.
Back at you.
Thanks.
Yeah.
So you do a lot of things around here at Suncoast.
You know, I like my title to be queen of everything, but they make me put outreach director on my card.
No, today you are the queen of everything.
Thanks.
Okay. Where's
I
your
like
crown?
it.
We
I
need
know,
that.
right?
So you teach the parenting class among all of the
do.
things that you do. And I kind of wanted to dive into that a little bit.
Okay.
It's an area that I don't know a whole lot about, but I've heard a lot of good things about the class and just all things parenting. So my first question is, what is the need that is being filled or fulfilled by Suncoast offering a parenting class for people?
You know, it's just a resource. Like, I feel like parents buy a bunch of parenting books and then they sit in that pillar beside your bed and you think you're going to learn all this stuff through osmosis.
Yeah.
And so you don't.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. It's like, oh, that book sounds really good. I think I'm going to read that. So it's the course that I teach is kind of a compilation of a bunch of different things, but it's an hour for about 5 or 6 weeks, depending. And it is like drinking from a fire hose. But it's all very practical. Like, a lot of the parenting books talk about, you know, connect with your child's heart. You need to, you know, and it's like, okay, no, tell me where to put my feet. Tell me what to say.
Right.
Tell me how that looks in real life. Like, what do I say?
Right.
So everything I teach is very practical. It's like, okay, this is how you give your kid directions. This is how you get your kids to listen to you. This is how you treat that horrible moment in the store when they're melting down because they can't have the Spider-Man toy.
Right.
You know, so it's all very, very practical. And I think that's what parents are looking for, is something that they can actually use. Not, you know, I went to one when Kylie was like, I think she was like 4 or 5. And I went to this parenting class and they said, by the age of 5, your child's personality has pretty much developed. And so if you're having really strong issues in certain areas, you're probably going to have those the rest of their time growing up. And I was horrified because I think she was having like a little tantrum time or something. And I was like, I'm just going to go home and throw her away and have another one and start over. Like, I've ruined it already. And that's so not true.
Yeah.
The other thing I really like is it's all in the context of your relationship with your child.
Okay.
It's not how you can make your child do what you want your child to do.
That's interesting because that's kind of the thing that I've always seen and heard is like, you have to control your child or you have to like make them obey. It's always this kind of like disobedient pet or something that's like, just wait till they get older so they can finally just go do their own thing.
Right.
It's almost like this frustration comes in and parents almost feel like this is how it has to be done. But it makes me feel weird. I don't have kids and I'm kind of like, is this what my future is? Like, I get frustrated all the time. So you guys teach this very practical way, like you said, but you've also boiled down a lot of information to make it doable for the parents.
Right.
So it used to be 10 weeks.
It was 10 weeks for 2 hours. And it had like a 45-minute video and a book and, you know, worksheets and homework. And I do give a little homework, but I'm like, go home and try this and see how it works with your kid.
Right. It's
you know?
more of the application
Yeah.
versus, okay.
Yeah. But yeah, it was a lot. And I always love what Larry says about, you know, when you have a book or you have a class or you do anything, it's like the fish, you know, keep the meat and throw away the bones. So that's kind of what we've done with this information over time. And Becky and I, oh my goodness, we used to be like parenting class junkies. Like let's try that one.
Yeah.
Oh, let's see what that one says. And in so many of them, we would have to do so much of that. It was like, oh yeah, we really like this, but no.
Yeah.
Do not do that with your child.
Yeah.
And we came across the one that's Parenting is Heart Work, and it's really, really good. But again, it's just so much information when there are so many practical things in there that you can do. There's a Andy Stanley and Sandra Stanley video where they talk about their parenting style growing up. And I love it because it's called Our Way, A Way. And it's like, this is kind of what we've done that's worked for us. We're not telling you this is perfect or this is how you ought to do it. But that 1 hour video is, they talk about so many things that I'm like, yes, somebody who got it, you know?
Interesting.
And Again, it's all in the context of your relationship with your child. So you don't want to be angry at your child all the time.
Right.
And so if you develop a relationship with your child that's good, they want to please you and they want to talk to you and they want to be with you. And so it becomes so much easier if you do the work on the front side. The back side is just such a joy.
Right.
Yeah.
So you've talked a little bit about family goals and how that is kind of the guiding light. So I love how you also put it that it's not just here's the formula. And if it doesn't work for you, whoops, you're forgotten now. It's like you try to give the people kind of the tools to figure it out for themselves. Right. So what is the family goal, or like what is that aspect of it?
Well, okay, so you were parented by parents. Your spouse is parented by parents. Well, what if they had two totally different parenting styles?
Right.
So now he's screaming at your kids and you're sticking them in a corner to be quiet, but he's still screaming at them. So, okay, this is obviously not working. So what if we get on the same page? So one of the ways you do that is kind of set goals for your family. Set deal breakers for your family. Like, okay, we can kind of look the other way at them opening and shutting that cabinet 800 times because kids just like repetition. So whatever. But we are not going to overlook dishonesty.
Yeah.
If you lie, that lies damage relationships. We are not going to lie in our house. That is one of the worst things you can do. So as a family, that's kind of our deal breaker. That's our rule. You set goals. The goal that we really wanted to have for our family is that our kids would want to come and have a relationship with us as adults. We want to have those healthy friendship. Do not do friendship years too early.
Oh.
Just saying.
Wait.
We want them to be our friend later.
Right. So what is later? Like what would you say the appropriate age for that is?
I would say grown and gone.
Yeah.
I would say, when they go off to college, you want them to come back and be your friend. But before that, let's keep that parent, and you'll always have a part of that parent relationship.
Right.
But you do want them to enjoy being with you, so they will come back and see you.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a family goal. Well, how do you make that happen? You build a healthy relationship the whole way. Mm-hmm. So
for somebody who, like, I don't have kids and I'm terrified of messing them up, because I know so much of it is reliant on how I treat them and
Right.
the example that I have or any parent has. The child watches and behaves accordingly, right?
Oh, yeah.
So how do you ease that fear in people where it's like, no, don't worry, they are resilient, or you will make mistakes. Every parent makes mistakes.
Every parent makes mistakes.
Right. So how can you convince someone that, like, it's okay? Like, you won't be the perfect parent, even if that is something that people strive for. Like, I would want to be the best I could possibly be,
yeah.
knowing that I won't actually be that. So how do you keep people kind of sane throughout that whole, the whole period of being a parent?
Well, one thing too is you have to keep in mind all kids are different. So you can be the most perfect parent in the world and this could still go awry.
Really?
Because they have their own personalities. And I think a lot of people, instead of working with their child's personality, it's I'm the authoritarian here and what I say goes, and because I said so.
Oh.
And you say you're never going to say that, but you will.
Yeah.
Just at one point, you're just, why? And you go, because I said so. So it's probably going to come out of your mouth at some point. But if you can realize that you're going to make those mistakes. And guess what? You can say you're sorry and not lose any of your authority. Like, mommy blew it today. I shouldn't have yelled at you like that. That was just not appropriate. And I am really, really sorry. That goes a long way towards your relationship, is tell your kids when you blow it. Tell your kids when you need a timeout. I've got to go take a break. I am not handling this well as a parent. I just need to separate from the situation and I'll be back. Mac would rather me beat him than actually tell him I needed to go think about this for a while. No, please no. Give your kids grace every once in a while. Go, you know what? That was really a bad decision. Let's not do that again. And parents come into it like, well, they did this. They have to have a consequence.
Right.
All the time. Well, if you, then we're gonna, oh, yeah. And you don't have to be that way. Like the first defense is to just talk to your kids. Like, that was a really bad decision. What are we going to do about that later? Like, are we going to keep making, no, we're not going to do that again. Instead of, and then every once in a while, Matt could go, could I have grace? No. Can I have grace on that one? Absolutely not. So, and it's your relationship with your kids. My relationship with Kylie is different than my relationship with Mac. It's, you're going to have there's no cut and dried, but there's ways that you can handle it that are better than others.
So where do these methods come from? Is there like an old curriculum that it's kind of like, ooh, this was a really good thing that worked, and then that kind of branched off? Or is it just literally tons of people kind of writing books and putting these things out there? Like, is there a source for a lot of this information?
I have a lot of sources. The Parenting is Heart work is really good. But again, it's a lot of information. Also, I think they kind of wedged some biblical things in there that didn't necessarily need to be biblical.
Okay.
It's like refine the Bible verse that fits this. So I don't use a lot of that. The Andy and Sandra video, I love. One of my favorite things is something I always did when my kids were growing up, which I thought was the best, and they touched on it, and it's the don't freak out. Because your kids will come and tell you things, good or bad, and you go off.
Yeah.
And they shut up. And so it's that, they come and tell you, one of their best friends are cutting, and they're in 7th grade. The mom is running around in her brain with her hair on fire, freaking out, but this one can't. Oh no, that's terrible. What do you think we should do about this? Or, oh, I'm so sorry. I'll be praying for her. And then you separate and then later come back. What do you think we could do to help her? Should we maybe talk to her mom? Could we? No, she told me not to tell anybody. Okay, well, let's not break your confidence.
Right.
What's something else we can do? So you work out these situations with them. But if you immediately go, oh my gosh, I'm calling her mother right now, and we're going to figure this out, and then they just shut down.
Right.
So I love the fact that they brought up that. That's one of my favorite parenting techniques in the world, because you want your children to come to you, and they won't if you do that.
I love that. What else? What's another good tip for people?
A good nugget. Well, I kind of touched on it. I had a girl in my class, in my parenting class, and her 3-year-old was her very best friend. Oh, no, she's not. You are her mother. She has friends. They play in the sandbox together.
Right.
No, you get to play with her, but that is not your only role.
Right.
So you need to parent her. So also in the Andy Stanley video, they talk about 0 to 5 is kind of the discipline years. You literally walk around your house and say no 800 times a day. Don't touch that. Don't do that. Come back here. Let's get that. Do this. Blah, blah, blah. 5 to 12 is kind of the teaching years. And that's when you are doing the, how can we make a better decision? Well, that probably wasn't the smartest thing. Pointing out the natural consequences that happen, not just making consequences for everything they do.
Right.
And then after 12, you have the coaching. 12 to 18 is the coaching years. And then after that, you can have the friendship years. If you do if you do the friendship years too soon, if you do the discipline years too late, you've missed it. Because trying to discipline a 16-year-old is really hard.
Right.
Okay, I'm taking away your car. Okay, I'm taking away your phone. Okay, I'm taking away your, okay, you're grounded. You're on restriction. And then you find out that that's not working.
Right.
So.
And that's like the last thing in, the last card to play. And if it doesn't work, then you're frustrated, the kid's frustrated.
Right.
I can see how that would be bad.
And it's just not, you can't pick them up and bodily set them down somewhere.
Right.
So it's better if you do the discipline years early in the teaching and the coaching. Because in the coaching years, you're teaching them how to be adults. And you're not raising kids, you're raising adults. That's probably the hardest part, is that people want to train their kids in where they are right then. You need to be training them for where they're going. So, and
good.
that really helps. It really helps to talk to your kids. Like, just don't punish them off the bat. Let's find out why they did that, or why they keep doing that, or why are you picking on your brother all the time?
Right.
Let's get down to that. Oh, because what I'm not seeing is your brother taking all your stuff and hoarding it in his room. I didn't know he was doing that, and you
Right.
didn't tell me. So that's why you're beating up your brother every day.
Right. That makes sense. So how do you deal with it's kind of like the lessons that you have to be older in order to understand? For instance, when somebody asks, where did grandma go after grandma passes away? Those kinds of things. How do you deal with, okay, this is a huge theme, very deep. It can be very hard to find the words to explain, because I think it's a disservice to tell kids a story, a lie. That's like, oh, whatever, fill in the blank, whatever that false
is
thing.
So much fun.
Okay, perfect example.
I'm telling you.
What do you do in those situations where eventually the kids are going to find out? Do you prepare them for find out on your own, or do you prepare them with a hint of the truth? Like, what do you do in those situations?
My kids still believe in Santa because I told them if they don't, all their presents turn into socks and underwear. So my kids still believe. Just
Nice.
saying, they're 26 and 22. So that's good. No, I think having fantasy with kids is so much fun.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there was a point where Kylie didn't want to get up and get ready in the morning. And so I actually used fantasy, like when she was like 4. Princess Kylie, the coach is outside. Come and put on your ball gown for the day, and, make it fun and do things like that. But I think that fantasy part is fun for kids. That's why Disney makes so much money.
Right.
It's so much fun to be that princess and to think about Santa, or that he comes and brings you things. But once they find out, you go, well, yeah, wasn't that fun? It was really fun to believe in that for a while. Isn't that great?
Right.
And of course, Kylie, I think hers was the Tooth Fairy. I think that was the first one that she busted me on.
Oh, yeah.
But through our conversation, all of a sudden it was like, Santa?
Oh,
The Easter Bunny? Like, I mean, it just the whole house of cards collapsed.
Right.
But it was kind of like but isn't it fun? And can we keep it going for your brother? Oh, yeah, because it was fun. And so they kind of get that you weren't trying to put something over on them, that it was just something fun when you're little to get to experience those things.
Would you take that same principle and apply it to those darker, kind of deeper, more scary parts of life?
I think it's age appropriate responses. And again, always answer your children's questions to the point where they've quit asking. Like, I think parents want to give kids over answers.
Okay.
When kids would be just sufficient with, you know what, grandma's gone to a place now where we don't get to see her every day. Where is that place? Well, some people like to call that heaven, and that she's gone to be with Jesus. And that's a warm, comforting thing that we can think. They're not probably going to go much more past that, but there are people that want to go, well, there is and just keep talking for more than kids need to know.
So
Same
what would you
with
say?
Where do babies come from? Mommies and daddies are in love, and sometimes they have a baby. Some kids will go, okay, yeah, but how does the baby get in there?
Yeah.
So some will keep going.
Right.
So answer their questions up until the point they quit asking.
Okay.
And you don't have to overshare.
So what is the age then where getting into detail, like, would you say it's just older when they're adults and you can have a real discussion, or would you say?
Again, it's when they're ready.
Okay.
And they'll keep asking questions up to that point. Well, no, that doesn't make sense to me. Like, so explain it to me. Okay, well, we don't know for sure. Oh, and I don't know is a perfectly good answer. Let's go get some books. Let's look it up on the internet. What do you think? Talk it out. Like, with something about the afterlife, we don't really have the answers to that all the way. So I think it's okay to go, this is what I hope. And this is what I pray for. And this is, what gives me comfort is to think that your grandma's with Jesus.
Right.
And that gives me a lot of comfort to know that she's in his loving care now. But you don't have to be hard and fast in what you say. But it's always great to share your beliefs with your kids.
Yeah.
I think it's a hope that you give them. I think it's something that I've always relied on is my faith. And so to give that to my kids has always been very important to me. And I love to see where they are in their faith. I love that I raise my kids here at Suncoast and that they have very open minds about about God and Jesus and religion and love and loving others. Kylie went to Europe for 6 months. And they have, all of a sudden she's meeting, Muslim kids and really finding out, oh, these kids are gay and she was just so loving and accepting of everyone. And then she saw the other side of people that weren't so loving and accepting and was just like, oh, and she even, thank you for raising me at Suncoast. I love the fact that I was raised with this open mind and open heart.
I love that.
Yeah, I do too.
And I hear a lot of that from a lot of the families that come through, the kids that grew up through that. I think the open-mindedness doesn't necessarily come with, I don't know, for all of it. And I love that you said, share what you think, because you're a person who is raising another person. And if you can give them an example, then whether they hold that as true for themselves or not, at least you gave them something that they could see as, oh, real people hold these as beliefs, or real people understand it this way. So it sounds like in this class that you teach, it sounds like you're giving respect to kids in a way that I've never really seen before. You're telling your parents you are raising adults, and it clicks you into a different way of seeing kids. Like I used to be terrified of kids because I'm like, I don't know what to say to them. I don't know what they're going to say to me. Like
their little brains are so weird. Well, they work so differently.
Right. And sometimes kids know things that you have no idea that they would know until they start talking. You're like, whoa, okay, you already understand this.
Yeah.
So how do you, when you're a parent, obviously you see them every day, so you can see those growth.
But you
periods.
don't. Then they get in middle school and they're all sharing these really wrong ideas that they've all kind of gleaned from different things. And they're like, oh, this is how this happened. And it's like, oh, no. Why do you think that? Who told you that? Right. And so at every stage, they're still getting information from other places. And so you still have to, even though you see them every day, you don't know where their information's coming from all the time. And you have to kind of monitor that. And one thing I talk a lot about are thinking errors. Like kids will get that, I'm so dumb because I can't do math, and I just for my kids it was like, oh, Mac, you're in 3rd grade, your sister has to help you with that now. As far as math goes.
Right.
But they may not say that out loud, but they are sitting there thinking they're so dumb because they can't do math. And it's like, no, okay, well, let's sit together and let's talk about that. And so they're frustrated and they're acting out and they're doing all these things, but you don't know why. Back it up. Oh, this happens every night right after homework. There's something going on with their homework. Let's sit with them for a minute and take time and see what is frustrating them.
I love that. It's like an investigation.
Oh, yeah. You're a complete detective. I took notes. I would take notes. And, okay, so if you have a puppy and you go, come here, Spot, come here. And every time he comes to you, you swat him on the nose with a newspaper. How long do you think Spot's going to keep coming to you?
Probably not very long.
Probably not very long. So it's, hey, Sally, come here. I need you to clean up your room.
Right.
I need you to do this. Have you done your homework? You need to go take a bath. We're getting ready to leave. Go get your shoes on. Blah, 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 blah. Every time you call their name, they're not going to come to you for a long time. So now they're hiding in the other room. And so that's a thinking error. Well, every time she says my name and wants to call me, she's going to give me a direction or I'm in trouble for something. Whereas you just go, Sally, come here. Would you like a snack? Hey, come in here. How was your day? I kind of found that out when actually the first time I did this class, I would go into Kylie's room, plop on her bed and go, hey, how was your day? What's going on? I would go to Mac's room. I'd stand in his doorway and I'd go, hey, buddy. And he'd go, what? And I'm like, hey, watch the attitude. I was just coming in here because you forgot to take out the trash. Boom.
Yep.
That's what I was doing. Every time I went into his room, it's to give him a direction or because he was in trouble. So I physically made that effort every day to go in, sit down and go, hey, buddy, how was your day?
Wow.
And change that thinking error that he had, which wasn't really an error. It was the truth.
Yeah.
So it's these patterns you set up with your kids and then you're like, oh, what's the attitude?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, I love this. This is so helpful.
It's all about your relationship and what your kid needs. Love languages are huge.
Oh, yeah?
Those are really a thing.
Really?
Yeah.
So are you supposed to take a test and take one with your kid and figure out?
if you know what they are, you can kind of figure them out with your kid.
Okay.
But it doesn't hurt to read the book because it does tell you different ways. And all kids need all of it. Don't think for a second that, oh, my child's love language is gifts. So if I just throw stuff at them all the time, it's going to be great. They still need the physical touch. They still need the acts of service. They still need the quality time. They need it all. But there's one thing that is going to really help your child. And Kylie is a canary. So I literally had to put it all down, listen to her day. Like, had to spend that quality time with her and let her really just decompress, and everything was good. Oh, if I didn't, it wasn't pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you have to feed her because she gets hungry.
I think that's common across all human beings.
I
If they're
think so,
hangry,
yeah.
just
You got to feed it.
yeah, you gotta feed it. I love that.
Got to feed it.
So how do you not lose yourself, like the sense of you as a person? Because you were an individual before you had children, well, you stay an individual throughout your whole life, but as a person who you make maybe selfish decisions before you have children. Like for me, it's kind of like, what can I do? What do I like? That. And I think a lot of people also share this as well, terrified of losing yourself in that process of giving everything you can for this other human being, which I think parenting should be a very, very focused effort. It shouldn't just be, I popped a kid out and now like, hopefully they'll grow up and be fine. Like obviously there is work involved, but how do you keep a sense of yourself at the same time?
First of all, you have to know it's a season, and the days seem long, but the years go by really fast. And so it's not going to be that long. So it's okay if you take that time to pour yourself into your child. It's okay, because it's just a season. It's going to be over before you want it to be.
Yeah.
Like, they're gone. Where'd they go? So you don't have to lose yourself. Do take time for yourself. You may have to like kind of concentrate on that. Like, okay, well, one day a week, I'm going to need to, I still need to do my yoga in the morning, but guess what? I may have to get up earlier, or I may have to stay up later to do it. So you may just have to adjust who you are a little bit. But again, it's just a season. So it's a time for you to, if you are able to focus on that. As far as your relationship with your significant other, that is huge. Like, you need to make sure that stays good. Not only do you model that for your kids, this is what a healthy relationship looks like,
right,
which is also very important, but you have that time together to spend. Take a week away every year, find somebody to watch your child. And they're going to be fine. They are going to be fine without you. And that gives them a little sense of autonomy too. So they get to create who they are. But yeah, it's just a season.
Do you teach that aspect in the parenting class?
We talk about it.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. But it is a time, and you need to take the time. I think you have a set routine. So you come home from work and you're cooking dinner, and somebody is going to throw that off the rails. That is so frustrating, because this is how our night was going to go. I was going to cook dinner. We're going to eat dinner then while you're doing your homework, and then you're going to get a bath and you're going to go to bed, and I'm going to watch TV, and it's all going to be good. Somebody's going to throw that off the rails, and that's very frustrating. So you have to plan for that. You have to go, okay, well, when this happens, this is what we're going to do about that.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love that all of these, they're not things that I would think of right away. But
No.
once you say it, it's like, oh, obviously that sounds right.
Yeah.
It sounds like, why wouldn't I go home and try it?
Right.
And I feel like that's one of the main things with this class, is that you give people the application, the practical, go home and just try this thing. And I think when people know what to look for, as in, I'm going to go home and prepare for the plan to not go according to plan, and know to identify when
it doesn't,
yes,
this is what you do. These are the steps you take. And not everything has to escalate like crazy. It just does not. I think that's the hard part, is to not just let everything escalate. But if you have a plan, it doesn't. And so this is just kind of a plan on how to give your kids instructions on the discipline plan. Everybody that comes into my class is like, ooh, when's the discipline class? And it's like, you're not going to like it.
Yeah.
You're not going to like the discipline class, because I'm not telling you to, and this is the time when you can beat your children,
right,
when it gets to this point.
Right.
It's like not letting it get to that point.
Right. Ooh, I have a question.
Okay.
Do you think spanking is okay or not?
There are 3 times you should never spank: when you are angry, when it is somebody else's kid for any reason, a stepchild, a neighbor, any other time. And, I forgot my third one. It went out of my head. I don't think it's necessarily something you need to do. I don't have a problem with it if it's in those discipline years, that 0 to 5. I think a little, you grab them and pop them on the diaper, and you
Right.
go, no, that gets their attention and makes the world stop for a second. But you have to keep in mind that anger isn't really an emotion. There is an emotion behind it. Anger is never its own thing. There is always, so when your kid runs out in the street and you run out there and you grab them and you shake them and you go, why don't you ever do that again? I don't ever. You're not really mad.
That sounds like fear.
It scared you to death.
Yeah.
So if you're angry, there's usually something behind it. If you are grabbing them and swatting them on the diaper, maybe you were scared they were about to touch the oven and you got their attention. Well, now, no, hot, and then you're going to teach them what the thing is behind it. Over 5,
Okay.
I don't really think it's necessary.
And you think it's just an attention
It's
grabber,
an attention
like,
grabber.
hey.
Yeah, I actually saw a lady at Disney one day. So her 2 boys are sharing one of those double strollers. And I look over and she goes, don't you hit your brother. And I literally sat there for a minute going, like, did you just beat your kid and tell them not to hit their brother?
Right. That's what blows my mind.
It was horrible. And again, she was probably so frustrated. It was later in the day. And oh my gosh, I don't know what that kid did 800 times before that. But no.
Yeah.
No.
And that's the thing is there is always a good reason. If you ask a parent, well, why are you doing they will have a reason. It's not like, oh, I didn't realize I did that. But what I think is crazy is when that happens, don't hit anyone and you're smacking them, or stop yelling. I'm like, don't yell to stop yelling.
See, I'm a yeller. And so my kids are loud. Like, my kids are kind of loud. I have a friend, Tammy, who is so calm, and her voice is, and both of her kids are like that. When you talk to them, they're just so, their whole family is just so calm. And it's just like, wow. It's like people in a museum to me.
Looking at them through the glass. Yeah. See, I don't think there's anything wrong with loud families. I think when people can be, expressing themselves, all of that. But I think the hypocrisy of like, don't do this thing that I'm doing right now.
To you.
Yeah. It's like, what? How does that work? So how do you, is there a tip for parents to keep their cool? Is there some sort of like count to 5, remove yourself from the situation? Or is that also just to each person? Like figure out what works for you.
Figure out what works for you. But deep breaths are good. But separating yourself, like literally take a break. Go into the other room, breathe, think about it. It's just that, okay, how am I going to handle this better? And that is the biggest thing, because when you're in it, it is just so easy to blow it up.
Right.
I have the parents that want to count to 3 for their kids, the 1, 2, no. So I was in a store one time and I look over and I go, Mac. And this lady goes, oh, I count to 3 too. And I'm like, oh no, this is not 1. This is my last nerve. And this is him dancing on it. And my kids knew that. Last nerve, like don't go there.
Yeah.
But again, I would never tell people not to do something that works for your kids.
Right.
If that really works in your dynamic, if bribing your child works, I don't have a problem with that.
What does work mean though? Like, how do you know if it's working or if it's just creating a bad habit?
I think it's almost, okay, for instance, if your child is a gifts kid, like if that fills their love tank, a lot of times, if you get all these chores done today, we'll go to Target and buy you that $5 toy that you want. Other kids couldn't care less. It's like, if you get done with your chores today, we'll get to sit down and play a game. Quality time.
Right.
So you kind of see what their currency is.
Okay.
And again, every kid is different. So if that works with your kid to get them to do what you need them to do, or fills their love tank and makes them happy, then you know what? I am not the one to sit here and tell you, no, you should never do that.
Right.
Yeah.
Nice. I like that.
Yeah.
So when's the next parenting class happening?
I think I want to do it in March.
Okay.
So hopefully, and I usually do them during the 9:00 service.
Okay.
And they make me happy.
And is this something that you have to go to all of the classes? Like what?
They don't build off one another, so each one is different. Like one is teaching your children to take direction. One is teaching your child how to accept no for an answer, which is one of my favorites. That was just the most fascinating thing to me. And it is. Do you know they go through the grief process when you say no?
Ooh, I did not know that.
Isn't that great? Because children in their mind will often ask you for something, they already think it's theirs. So when you say no, you just took it away. So now they're in denial, but I wanted it. And then they have the whole grief thing that, oh, but I really wanted that. And they're having this whole grief process before you in Target.
Yeah.
And then at the end, it's acceptance.
Yeah.
As we walk to the car without the Spider-Man toy.
Right.
So yeah, I love that. So just teaching your child how to accept no. And
So that's one of the categories.
one of the classes.
Yeah.
There's discipline. There's actually 2 classes that kind of take you through getting a routine and then how to make the routine. And that's really good.
So
All of them are good.
Yeah. And you talked about how some of the people that come to the class are separated couples who then bring their new significant others so that they can all learn how to parent together.
How much do you love that? Because, okay, like I was saying earlier, you come up from a parenting background and your spouse comes from a parenting background, so it's great for y'all to get on the same page. Now picture you separate, you each get significant others, and now you've got 2 more sets of parenting coming in.
Right.
So I had a couple that he was getting ready to get married and she had married and just had another one, and so they all came to the class because they shared this 7-year-old, and he was a bit of a handful anyway, and they all came to get on the same page of how to give him directions, how to discipline him. I just thought that was amazing. So for blended families, especially, it's just,
I love that.
I do too. I thought that was, I when they came into class, I go, I'm going to put a gold star on your forehead already just for coming.
Nice.
Yeah. So it's good.
What would you say the prime candidate for these classes are? Like, is it somebody who has children, who doesn't have children? Like, what is it? A variety of people? Like, who goes to these classes?
It is a variety of people. I will tell you that I've had people take it numerous times, just because maybe they worked on the discipline routine and that started working really well in their home. But now their kids are a little bit older and they need more of the giving directions. Or maybe they just want to work on their relationship with their child because they're in a awkward situation. So anytime is good. I've had people with teens take it and still learn a lot. At one point, Matt got in trouble and we had to go to a teen court counseling, and that was just loads of fun. And I sat in that classroom and I saw teens who just abhorred their parents and parents who did not like their teenagers. And it made me so sad. And I would look at them and she lies. What do you do? She just lies. That's all she does. And And they were just attacking each other, even in this classroom setting full of strangers.
Right.
And the counselor would say things like, you have a pattern of fighting. What room do you fight in most? And Mac looked over at me and he goes, you want to go with family room? And I'm going, sounds good. Because we did not have a pattern of fighting.
Right.
And so I think a lot of the things I learned through going to the class and teaching it and doing all of that really helped with those stages of a relationship. So it didn't come to that. And that made me so sad.
Right. And I always say taking advice from somebody who actually applied it to their life and has the actual fruits of the labor.
Yeah.
You are the perfect person to teach this class because
you're so
you have a great relationship with your kids.
I
and
do.
they're good kids anyways.
Yeah.
But you always talk about,
But they're not perfect.
well,
and
nobody is.
They have gotten into trouble and they have had their branching off. But the great thing was I got to walk alongside them with it.
Right.
And I do liken this class to the way God parents us. It's like he loves us. He is not going, pretty big mistake, so I'm going to smite you. We shouldn't be doing that with our kids. We should do pretty bad mistake. Oh, I'm sorry this is happening to you, but you know what? I'm here. I'm here for you, and let me walk along with this with you, and we'll see if we can't come up with a solution together. It's not me against you. We're in this together. So let me help you out here.
I love it.
What's a better solution?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's perfect. So
Yeah.
March is the next time?
I do want to do it in March.
Okay. We'll have more information for people that are interested.
We will. I'll
And
nail that down.
They have to be physically there, right? There's no online option for, okay.
No.
Maybe in the future.
Maybe.
Because it
As
just
you're
seems
saying
like
that.
it's too much of the helpful stuff that people need. And I do know that there are resources, but I feel like doing something where you guys are already practicing that. Like with kids coming through Suncoast,
Yeah.
they're going to be treated with respect from all of the volunteers, all of the staff people in that area.
Right.
They are treated as adults, you know, like they're
You're
going
raising
into
adults,
yeah,
not
and
kids.
and adults that people will like. I think that's what's important too. It's not just, you know, like someday you'll be this thing. It's like, no, I want you to be a good thing, whatever
Right.
it is that you become, you know?
And parenting is fun. I mean, it really is fun. And it's really great, like you said, to see the fruits of your labor later. It's like, I like you.
Yeah.
It's like, I really like you. This is great. Now, I'm not going to say that's going to be every day. But like I was telling you earlier, love the baby stage. And then there's that like 18 months to 3 years where they walk around and go, and point at stuff. And it's just like, words. You need some words. And so, you know, that was a frustrating time for me. Mm-hmm. Probably the most frustrating time in parenting for me.
Really?
So there's going to be a stage that maybe you don't love, but it's such a season and it goes really fast.
I mean, I love it. I love
Yeah.
these podcasts. Let's do more of these on
Okay.
parenting. I mean, maybe we could filter in some of the parenting class through this for people who can't make it to the actual one.
That would be
I feel like
great.
that'd be a lot of fun. Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
let's
thank
do
you,
it.
Susan.
Hey,
this was a lot of
thanks,
fun.
Reeds. I love it.
Yeah.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Good job, guys. It was great.
Thanks, Ryan.
Was
I
it
forgot
good?
you were there.
Yeah, I'm over here.